Force Center is hopping tonight. As you can see behind me, the Temple students have come out in full force to see the Owls face off against the #1 ranked Villanova Wildcats. Find out how this Big Five matchup ended and more. OwlSports Update is live, and it starts right now.
Welcome into this latest live edition of OwlSports Update. Alongside Jared Phillips, I'm Christy Sergio.
Another week, another jam-packed show with the latest in Temple athletics. We have not one, but two #1 ranked teams in town over the course of 1 week. And it starts with a Big Five showdown right here on North Broad. Wednesday night had the makings of an all-timer in Big Five lore. Villanova, #1 in the country for the first time in school history, heading east for a clash with Temple, winner of 5 straight and 8 of its last 9. A win for the Owls over the top team in the country would almost guarantee an NCAA tournament berth. Early first half action, Dan Dingle with a nice ditch to Obi Enechionia off the screen. That's an easy finish in the paint. Obi had 15 and 9 boards on the night, but Nova was as advertised. Phil Booth had 12 big ones, including this pull-up jumper. Coach Dunphy had to be unhappy with the Owls early. They were down 35-23 at the half. A name Temple fans don't want to hear, Jalen Brunson. He was a killer Wednesday night, dropping a game-high 25. Trey Lowe poked his head out to say, hey, Brunson ain't the only freshman out here. Obi finds Lowe in the corner for one of his 5 trays on the night. He had a career-high 21. But back to Brunson. Ryan Archidiacono finds him for the pull-up on the baseline, and you really can't do anything about this. The Wildcats are just too big, too fast, and too talented for the Owls as they take this year's matchup. 83-67 is your final. The hope for another court storm at the Liacouras was quickly squashed in this one. Nova got in the driver's seat early and didn't let up. The Owls cut their lead to as low as 11 with under 10 minutes left in the second half, but it was not enough. Freshman Jalen Brunson and Trey Lowe traded buckets all night, and Wildcats big man Daniel Ochefu harassed the Owls in the middle, dropping 16 and pulling down 9 boards. Another note, Devin Coleman was held scoreless.
They're a good basketball team. They defend very well. We got a little bit better on the offensive end in the second half. I think our ball movement was better. I think we learned a lot about ourselves in terms of we can't make critical mistakes.
You know, your shots just aren't going in. Then you have to take it to the rim, and I don't think we did a good enough job at that, attacking and being aggressive off the dribble. So I think we need to attack when our shots aren't really going in. So it happens. You just have to find another way to win, and we didn't.
Both Nova and Temple have plenty of veterans on their rosters, but Wednesday's game belonged to the rookies. OwlSports Update's John Ginsberg was at the game and is in the newsroom with more. Hi, John.
Hi, Christy. Now, Wednesday's showdown was a rough one for Temple. The game fell into a bit of a lull with Villanova leading by double digits for well over half the game. However, 2 of the youngest players on the floor gave both teams something to cheer for and something to look forward to. On Wednesday night, Temple and Villanova squared off in the final Big Five matchup of the regular season. This may have been the seniors' final time playing in Philly's intra-city rivalry, but a pair of freshmen absolutely stole the show.
I thought Jalen Brunson was tremendous. I thought he seized the moment. On our side, I thought Trey Lowe seized the moment. It was terrific to watch 2 freshmen go like that.
Jalen Brunson has been a consistent producer for Villanova, averaging 25 minutes and 10.2 points per game in his first season with the Wildcats. Trey Lowe has only played 12.5 minutes per game. Wednesday's game marked his first time eclipsing 20 points at Temple.
It felt great. I mean, just quiet the crowd, but at the same time, I was playing for my teammates, not the crowd. And they were excited for me, and I just had to try to keep making the right plays at the right time.
The coaches and the players always told me keep my head and just always wait for your turn. My time will come, and they just say just play within the game and everything will come too.
Brunson and Lowe were heavily recruited by both Temple and Villanova. After tonight, it's safe to say that a new Big Five rivalry has been born.
I mean, they're great freshmen. They're a great team, and they just played well. And on some things on defensive assignments we just gotta make better.
Jalen Brunson is a great player. He came into college as a known player, so I kind of figured he was going to come out and play his hardest game.
Brunson and Lowe ended the night with 25 and 21 points respectively. The sellout crowd might as well have been treated to a three-point shootout, with Brunson knocking down 4 of 5 and Lowe hitting 5 of 8. This was just a preview of two rising college careers in Philadelphia. While the game was a one-sided affair, all Big Five fans can agree that there's nothing wrong with 3 more years of Brunson versus Lowe. From the newsroom, for OwlSports Update, I'm John Ginsberg. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, John. Villanova wasn't the only game the Owls had to focus on this past week. They also had conference matchups against UConn and USF, where the news was much better. UConn is one of many teams sitting near the top of the American on white net. Many Owl fans were in attendance. Quentin DeCozy to Daniel Dingle, who hits the 3. The Huskies will answer, of course. Daniel Hamilton to Amita Brima, and he slams down the dunk. But not so fast. Jalen Bond finds number 4 out in the corner, who sinks the tray. Daniel Dingle ends up with 15 points on the night. Temple trailed by double digits with about 6 minutes to go, but here's the run. Josh Brown gets a bit aggressive on this one with the steal. Then DeCozy doing what he does best and walks away with the N1. He scores 23. Defense is key down the stretch. The Owls end the game with a 21-4 run. Temple wins 63-58 over the Huskies.
Fast forward to Sunday at the Lear Course, Temple taking on the USF Bulls with a chance to snag the top spot in the AAC, and Agent Zero wanted it. Obi Inecioni with a strong finish early in the first. He had 18. Nahemus Murillo doesn't lay down. The senior gets the baseline floater to go, and Trey Lowe then responds with a putback dunk. Man, this freshman's been impressive. But USF has a good one too. Jamal McMurray with the 3 of his game-high 24 from half court. Halftime, Mark Macon, John Chaney, and the rest of the 91 Elite 8 team are honored on the floor. And then we got some early second half action here. Ruben Guerrero had a couple monster dunks, and here's one right there. Bulls putting the pressure on midway through the second with the steal, and Bo Ziegler gets the N1. Obi erases any thoughts of a comeback by stroking a long 2. At this point, the Owls are laying it on. Quentin DeCozy, nice feed to Jalen Bond for 2. Bond had a beastly 14 boards. Owls stake their claim at the top of the conference. 77-65 is your final. The AAC standings are looking good for the Cherry and White. The non-conference loss doesn't change anything, so Temple still sits atop the conference with an impressive 10-3 record. But tough conference matchups lie ahead, including chances for revenge against Houston and Memphis. Meanwhile, Tulsa has a chance at a little revenge of its own after falling to Temple at home in an OT thriller. If the Owls take care of business, they could head into the AAC tournament with the conference's top seed. Time for our first break, but when we come back, we have another #1 team in the country rolling into town.
Plus,
I think we're good enough to beat just about anybody we play, and we're not so good that we can lose at any time.
I sit down with Coach Dunphy to talk about a team searching for some consistency. OwlSports Update is back in 90 seconds. Welcome back. It's been a wild year for Fran Dunphy and his men's team. Of course, just about every year is a wild ride. But so far, Temple has played 2 #1 teams, they've beaten a top 10 team, and they sit on top of the conference standings. But they are still considered a bubble team, and their coach is now the winningest coach in Big Five history. I got a chance to catch up with Coach Dunphy to talk about his unpredictable team and this unpredictable season.
Well, it was certainly younger than last year's team when we only had 1 freshman in Obi. And this year we have 3 freshmen who have gotten significant time on the court. But we've had some pretty good veteran leadership to help those guys make the adjustment from being the oldest guy in high school to being the youngest guy in college. So it's been good. I think it's been good. I think those guys have understood their role. They've accepted their their time on the court, and obviously the better they play, the more time they're going to get. But it's been a good transition, I think, for those three young guys.
And do you think because of those young guys, that's why you've been struggling to find a definite starting five this season?
Just something that we've wanted to do is give other guys opportunity. So I don't think we're struggling at all. And starting doesn't matter at all to me. What matters to me is who finishes. Have we been inconsistent at moments? Yeah, we certainly have. I think every team goes through that. I think we're good enough to beat just about anybody we play, and we're not so good that we can lose at any time. The difference between winning and losing is so fragile, and it oftentimes comes down to a made shot at one end and missed shot at the other. That's just, again, the nature of college basketball. Yeah, I think I mentioned that before. I think we can beat anybody in the country. We also can get beaten by anybody in the country. So that's just the nature. There's so many different, I've had 27 teams now at the head coaching level, 27 different kinds of DNA and personalities within those 27. This is one of those teams that we play a lot of close games. We're capable, but we sometimes lose our focus, and that can hurt us.
With that 62-60 win over UCF, though, that also marked you the Big Five winningest coach in history. What was that like for you?
I think if you know me, it's not something I thought too much about, and still don't think too much about it. I think it's a function of me being a head coach in Philadelphia for 27 years. There were so many guys that went before me who were much better basketball coaches than I, who just didn't stay in Philadelphia that long. So I'm very fortunate, very lucky. I've lived in the same house for 32 years. Not too many guys in the college basketball profession get a chance to do that or to say that.
Coach Dunphy is very humble when it comes to his accomplishments. He now has 519 wins and hopes to make that an even 520 in their matchup against Houston on Sunday.
Not to be outdone by having the top men's team in the nation come to Temple, the top women's team was also in town this past week. That was perennial juggernaut UConn, winners of 60 straight games. A record crowd on hand at McGonigal Hall, 3,392 fans, and one live owl named Stella. Donasia Fountain tossing out t-shirts pregame. She also had herself a game. Off the steal, she gets it to Aaliyah Butts, who finds Tanea Atkinson in the corner. Bang! Atkinson chipped in 9, and we got more on Atkinson later. Halftime, UConn up 40-30, which means Temple is in the game. Owls hanging around, but it's only a matter of time before UConn remembers they're UConn. Maura Jefferson comes up with the steal off Butts, and she's got an easy breakaway layup. Jefferson had a game-high 25. Husky let the Owls hang around, but ultimately it's the usual result. UConn cruises, 85-60 is the final.
The Owls look to continue their 5-game winning streak against Houston. Tanea Atkinson with the steal. She hands it off to Aaliyah Butts, who plays hot potato back to Atkinson, who goes on to take the layup, but says psych and sneaks the pass to Donasia Fountain, who drains it for 2. Lots of teamwork action here at the top of the key, but Fiona Fitzgerald decides to take matters into her own hands and throws up the jumper. With the miss, Charlotte Brown says, "I'll take that," but Atkinson says, "I don't think so," and she hits the layup. She goes on to have a game-high 27. Butts to Khadijah Berger to Fitzgerald, who decides to keep it but falls short. No worries, Fountain is there to save it with the tip back. She goes on to have 20 points, and the Owls go on to defeat the Cougars 78-48. If we take a look at the conference standing, UConn still leads with an undefeated conference record and overall record. Don't think much is going to change there. But the race is still on for second and third place. Temple is tied for second with USF at 11-3, followed by Memphis and Tulane to round out the top 5. The Owls have a chance to secure their second place spot with 4 conference games to go.
The catalyst to the women's team's strong run has been the play of Tanea Atkinson. The sophomore guard has been on fire over the past week, snagging Big 5 Player of the Week honors for her play. Atkinson had a career-high 27 points in the blowout win over Houston, shooting better than 75% from the field. There aren't many coaches who will talk about a moral victory, but Coach Tanya Cardoza had to be pleased with her team's effort in the loss to UConn. OwlSports Update's Christian Reilly's in the newsroom with the story.
Thanks, Jared. Blowout wins are nothing new for the UConn women's team. The Huskies have won by 10 or more points in every one of their 24 games this season. Sunday's game at McGonigal Hall was no different on the final score sheet in the Huskies' 25-point win. However, this game had a much different feel to it.
Last month, when the Owls took on the Huskies at Harry Gamble Pavilion, they were steamrolled by 55 points. But in their second meeting, they trailed by just 10 points at halftime and were competitive for 3 quarters before losing by 25. But most in attendance would tell you the game was closer than the final score indicates.
First 20 minutes of basketball today, I think the only thing we did better than Temple was we have more All-Americans on the floor than they did. I don't think we did anything better than them.
Despite being undersized, the Owls were only out-rebounded by 3. In addition, they forced 18 turnovers from the undefeated Huskies, which was a season high for Gino Ariema's team.
I thought we, gave them a good fight, and that's the first time since, I've been here coaching against them that we actually put up a solid fight. Yeah, we're outmatched, but that didn't stop our heart and our effort and our desire to really just compete with them.
Just days after fighting tooth and nail in the loss, the Owls realized it was an easier pill to swallow. But the last thing they want to do is get complacent with their performance against the top team in the nation.
That's definitely the attitude. When you play a tough game against UConn and hanging in there for more than 3 quarters of a game, your confidence goes up, and now you're ready for who's next on the plate. Despite having their 6-game winning streak snapped on Sunday, the Owls are still encouraged at the idea of grabbing the 2nd seed in the conference for when the postseason tournament rolls around. From the newsroom, I'm Christian Reilly. Reporting for OwlSports Update, Christy and Jared, back to you.
Well, it looks like it's time for us to step away.
But when we come back, we have Tommy Sladek's latest edition of Inside Owl Nation.
Brent McManus, Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Emmy-Award winning OwlSports Update.
Back to OwlSports Update.
Tommy Sladek is back with his latest installment of Inside Owl Nation.
Hey everybody, I'm Tommy Sladek here for Inside Owl Nation. The hype around the chances of an old school Big 5 upset was high, but the Temple's performance against the nation's #1 team was quite their season low. Plenty went wrong for the Owls, and there are a couple of plays in particular I want to break down. 4 minutes ago here in the first half, the Owls down 12, forcing them into a full court press. Arcidiacono is going to get double teamed here, and keep your eyes on Chris Jenkins because clearly Mark Williams and Jalen Bond aren't. They are going to be cheating up to the midcourt line, and this is Arcidiacono, one of the smartest point guards in the country. He's going to see a wide open Chris Jenkins who goes in and slams home some embarrassment for the Owls. The full court press continued to hurt the Owls the entire game. On the inbound pass here, Jalen Brunson throwing it in the second half. He throws it up to Oshefu, who gets it deflected by Josh Brown. That is Devin Coleman heading in, and it is an offensive charge. Let's look at that one again, just see how badly Coleman wasn't able to use his peripherals. Look at Trey Lowe, more wide open than anything out there. And then you also have Quentin DeCozy cutting into the basket. Those are 2 wide open teammates of his that he could have dished it off to. Instead, it's an offensive foul, and more continues to hurt for the Owls. Let's jump ahead. 9 minutes left in the second half. No real room for error here. The game is winding down. Arcidiacono fishes it to Phil Booth. Phil Booth goes in, gets a rebound not once, not twice, but 3 times until he is finally fouled by Quentin DeCozy. DeCozy gets his 3rd foul. He's upset. Look at that again. DeCozy, my man, it doesn't matter what team you're playing. You got to box out. You got to stick to the basic principles. The Owls were unable to do that, and that is why they fell by 16 points. And really, I can honestly go on for days. Those plays were certainly factors in the Owls' loss, but there were others that really can't be broken down on film to get the point across. Fran Dunphy sat Josh Brown in the first 9 minutes of the game for academic reasons. 9 crucial minutes that Villanova took advantage of. Veteran point guard Ryan Arch was all over freshman Shiz Austin, forcing back-to-back turnovers that changed the pace of the entire game. I mean, I saw some crazy dunks and warm-ups, and yes, I was entertained, but guess what? No soaring windmill was going to make up for missing 5 free throws. You want to get into the tournament? Start making them from the line. Now, the silver lining in the Nova loss, it has no effect on their conference record, and the Owls still sit atop the AAC with a 10-3 record. That is it for Inside Owl Nation. We will see you next week with maybe a little bracketology. Who knows? March is creeping up. I'm Tommy Sladek. Back to Jared and Christy at the desk.
Thanks, Tommy. Great stuff as always.
Well, it looks like it's time for us to take another break.
But you gotta see what Quentin DeCozy did against UConn. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We got a little women's lacrosse action. They took on the LaSalle Explorers on Wednesday, a Big 5 rival, and the Owls had a field day with the Explorers, a 13-2 win. Look at the shots. Temple outshot LaSalle 32-6. A handful of Owls recorded multi-goal games, including a hat trick from Kirsty Connor and 2-goal games from Megan Pinkerton and Morgan Glassford. The Explorers were shut out in the first half.
It's now time for our play of the week. Today's play comes from the All-Star himself, Quentin DeCozy. Our very own Ben Ott is in the newsroom to share it with us. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Christy. Since last Thursday, the Temple men's basketball team has played 3 home games. UConn last Thursday, USF Sunday, and Villanova last night. That's 120 minutes of basketball, but there's a few seconds that still stand above the rest. This play of the week takes us back to last Thursday when the Owls squeaked past the Huskies. It's none other than Quentin DeCozy who gets the job done for his team with his back to the basket. It was back and forth all night long. Fans enjoying a thriller Temple comeback. They were down a dozen points, but then the Owls only needed 2 to tie it up. A minute 10 remaining, Quentin DeCozy, the man of the hour, dribbles, drives, and right before it's too late, the Q hoists up a circus shot and shows he's been working hard in the offseason. Unreal. Take a look at this again. Straight money. Number 25 behind his back finds a way to meet the net. Whatever you want to call it. Gun show, circus. It's happening in the Leah Center. From the high angle now, a beauty. DeCozy fouled in the process. He goes to the foul line and converts the three-point play. Overall, DeCozy went 7 for 7 from the line. 4 of those fall for Q in the final 20 seconds. The ringleader fueling a regular season sweep versus the Huskies. If you see a play over the coming week that deserves attention, let us know on Twitter at OwlSportsUpdate by using the hashtag #PlayOfTheWeek. From the newsroom, I'm OwlSports Update's Ben Ott, Jared and Christy. Back over to you guys.
Ben Ott with his OwlSports on-air debut. Great stuff, Ben. Christy, it looks like we're out of time, but OwlSports Update, we'll be back same time next week.
Hey, at least Emily Millard and Rob Barcia will be back on desk next Thursday. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at OwlSports Update.